Quietly massive. How 70,000 people move without chaos. The illusion of arrival. The stadium is silent at dawn. 60,000 seats. Empty. Still. The pitch is perfect. Watered at 5 a.m. by a groundskeeper who has worked here for 11 years. The last thing he will do before leaving is check that every blade of grass is level. He will not watch the match tonight. He will be home before kickoff. In 4 hours, 70,000 people will be here. They will arrive in waves, trains, buses, ride shares, on foot. They will carry flags, food, and years of expectation. A father who saved for 2 years to bring his son to his first World Cup match. The boy has worn the same jersey every match day for 3 years. Tonight, he will see his hero play in person for the first time. A woman who watched this team on a small television in another country for decades, who never thought she would be here, standing now at the entrance gate with a ticket she still cannot believe is real. A man in his 70s who saw his country win in 1966.
Who remembers exactly where he was standing? Who has told that story at every family dinner since? And who tonight will bring his granddaughter to understand why? They will press against each other in densities that, if mismanaged by even a small margin, can kill. And then, when the final whistle blows, they will leave. Almost completely. Almost instantly. Without incident. It will feel spontaneous. Organic. Like 70,000 humans simply decided to exist together, and then dissolved back into the city. They didn't decide anything. They were moved. What you're about to see is not a sports story. The problem no one talks about. The problem no one talks about. Here is something they don't teach in school. Crowds are not groups of people. They are physical systems. And physical systems obey laws. When human density reaches 4 people per square meter, individual decision-making effectively stops. You no longer choose to move. You move because the person beside you moves. Because the person beside them moves. Because a pressure wave, originating somewhere behind you, 30, 40, 100 people back, has traveled forward through bodies, the way a shock wave travels through water. You are a particle now, not a person. At 5 people per square meter, the pressure waves become dangerous. A stumble at the front doesn't stay at the front. It travels backward, amplified. The crowd behind doesn't see the person fall. They only feel the wave, and they push forward. Because the physics demands it. This is not chaos. This is not panic. This is geometry. Hillsborough, 1989. 97 people killed. Not from a riot, from a gate opened into an already full terrace. No real-time visibility of density. No system to slow the flow. The physics ran its course. The Love Parade, Duisburg, 2010. 21 people killed. 1 tunnel. one entry point. Nowhere to go except forward, into the people who had nowhere to go except back. When crowd engineering fails, it doesn't just threaten safety. It erases moments that can never be recreated. The father and the son. The woman with the ticket she still can't believe is real. The man who has been waiting since 1966. How do you protect that? Close your eyes. You are in a crowd. Not a comfortable one where you can see the edges. A real one. A dense one. The person behind you is close enough that you can feel the warmth of their body. You cannot turn around. You cannot step sideways. You cannot stop. Because the crowd behind you is moving, and the crowd behind them, and the crowd behind them. You are no longer choosing to walk. You are being carried. Your feet touch the ground, but the crowd decides where they land. You feel a pressure on your back. Not painful, not yet, just constant, accumulating. This is 4 people per square meter. This is the threshold.
The answer is not guards. It's not barriers. It's not announcements. It is design. Invisible, obsessively simulated, pre-calculated design. Built into the concrete and the signage and the timing before a single person arrives. The invisible architecture. 6 months before a World Cup match, before a ticket has been printed or a flight booked, engineers run a simulation. They model 70,000 arrivals, not as people, as particles, each assigned a probability distribution. How long does the average ticket scan take? What percentage stop at concessions? What cascades through the system if one train runs 8 minutes late? The simulation iterates thousands of times. It finds the bottlenecks. The gate that will back up 22 minutes before kickoff. The concourse that hits dangerous density if the eastern car park fills faster than modeled. The bathroom corridor that becomes impassable at halftime if the queue spills left instead of right. Then they fix those bottlenecks in the simulation, months before anyone arrives. Gates are not placed for aesthetics. They are a mathematical solution to a flow problem. The concourses, the wide interior corridors, are sized to move the crowd the way an artery is sized to move blood. Too narrow, and pressure builds. The system doesn't announce it's failing, it just quietly begins climbing toward the threshold. The architecture moves your body. The signage directs your attention. The third layer does neither. It watches. Sensors embedded in the concourses count bodies, not estimates, actual counts, updated every 30 seconds, feeding into a central operations dashboard. If any sector approaches 80% of safe density, an alert fires. A supervisor has 8 seconds to assess it. A decision is made. Redirect arrivals to Gate C. Open the secondary concourse. Hold the next train 4 minutes to stagger the load. The operations center looks like air traffic control. Screens covering every zone. A team that has rehearsed this exact scenario until the decisions are automatic. The AI model running beneath it has processed 50 comparable events. It knows that Gate 7 peaks 23 minutes before kickoff, not 15. It has already flagged it. The supervisor is already watching. Nothing is happening yet. The system is simply ready for what history says comes next. The human engine. Here is what no simulation can model. A woman, call her Maria, spent 4 hours this afternoon resetting 70,000 seats.
unfolding each one from the position the last crowd left it, checking for damage. She found a child's small rubber football wedged under a seat in Block 42 and walked it to the lost property office before returning to finish her section. She didn't log it. She didn't tell anyone. She just decided that if a child came back looking for it, it should be there. The security supervisor has run 6 evacuation drills this month. He knows every exit route, every assembly point, every radio channel, every escalation path. He will stand at his post for 11 hours today.
Not because the protocol requires it, because he has seen what happens when someone isn't watching, and he decided years ago that it wouldn't happen on his watch. That decision lives nowhere in any operations manual. It lives in him. The food vendor in Block 114 has noticed over 9 years that his section runs out of drinks 40 minutes into the second half. He pre-positioned an extra crate this afternoon. No system flagged it. No algorithm suggested it. He just remembered. And because he remembered, 600 people in Block 114 will not spend the second half thirsty, will not leave their seats, will not crowd the concourse at the moment the crowd can least absorb it. One man's memory. 600 people who will never know what he saved them from. For every sensor in the operations center, there are 2,000 people like this on the ground. People who arrived at 6 a.m. for a 7 p.m. event. People whose names appear nowhere in the post-match report. The engineering determines what's possible. The people determine what actually happens. And in the stands above them, in Block 42, where Maria checked every seat, the boy in the jersey is watching his hero warm up for the first time. His father has his hand on his shoulder. Neither of them is speaking. The people in the stands will remember the goal. They will remember the roar. They will remember exactly where they were when the record fell. The way the man in his 70s remembered 1966. The way he still remembers it now. The way he told it again last week so his granddaughter would understand why tonight matters. They will not remember the sensor in Concourse 3. They were never supposed to. What collapse actually looks like. Let's run the failure. It starts small. It always starts small. A train delayed by 15 minutes. Not a crisis, a signal fault 2 stations back, but 3,000 people, distributed across a 90-minute arrival window, are now arriving in 30 minutes. Gate queues extend beyond their designated waiting areas. People spill into the approach corridor. In Concourse 3, a sensor has been reading 10% below actual density since last Thursday. The readings looked normal. They were normal until tonight. The operations center sees elevated density in Concourse 3. The sensor says 71% of threshold. The real number is 79%. The team decides to monitor rather than intervene. 4 minutes pass. By the time a steward's manual count confirms the real density, Concourse 3 is at 91%. 600 people in a space designed for 400. The queue has nowhere to expand. Someone near the front stops suddenly, and the pressure wave moves backward. The gate supervisor can open the secondary concourse right now, but she's waiting for authorization from the operations center. The operations center is waiting for confirmation from the sensor team. The sensor team is recalibrating.
40 seconds pass. 40 seconds. In a crowd at 91% density, 40 seconds is a very long time to wait for permission to do the obvious thing. This is how it happens. Not through catastrophic failure, not through negligence, through a sensor slightly miscalibrated, a reading slightly delayed, a communication chain with one link too many. The Father and the Son are somewhere in Concourse 3. The difference between a memory and a tragedy is 40 seconds and a culture that lets the person on the ground make the call. Technology creates visibility. Culture creates action. Without both, the physics wins.
The mirror. You've been in a crowd. Not necessarily a stadium. A station platform at rush hour. A shopping center. On the last Saturday before Christmas. A festival exit. Funneling thousands of people through a gate that was fine at capacity and is not fine now. You felt the shift. The moment when the crowd stopped being a collection of individuals and became something else. Something that moved with its own logic. Something that carried you rather than the other way around. You felt the warmth of the body behind you. The pressure that wasn't painful yet, but was accumulating. The awareness that you could not stop, even if you wanted to. That feeling was real. And someone, somewhere, spent months making sure it resolved safely. The crowd engineer who ran the simulation 6 months ago does not know your name. They modeled you as a particle, a probability distribution, an arrival time, a likely route from Gate 7 to Block 42. They found the point where your route would have intersected with 600 other particles in a concourse too narrow for the load. They widened the concourse. They moved the gate. They built in the buffer, the extra 4 minutes, the secondary exit, the redirect protocol, so that when the train ran late and the crowd compressed, the system had somewhere to go that was not into you. You will never know this happened. You will remember the goal, the roar. The boy in Block 42, who turned to his father with an expression neither of them had words for yet. You will not remember the concourse width, the sensor reading, the 40 seconds. You were never supposed to. That is the point. That is always the point. The best system is the one that carries the most fragile things people have, their once-in-a-lifetime nights, their first times, their stories that will be told for 60 years, and does it so completely, so invisibly, that you never once think about what it would have cost if it had failed. What we don't see. Every morning, in stadiums and stations and streets, the same invisible work begins. Someone runs the simulation. Someone calibrates the sensor. Someone resets 70,000 seats and walks a rubber football to the lost property office. Someone carries the weight of the crowd, so the crowd can move freely. They will not be thanked. The event will be described as seamless, as if it arranged itself. It didn't arrange itself. It never does. The boy will remember tonight for the rest of his life. His father's hand on his shoulder, the moment his hero scored, the roar that he felt in his chest before he heard it with his ears. He will tell this story at family dinners for 60 years. He will not know why it was safe to be there. That's the point. That's always been the point. 70,000 people,
4 hours. No chaos. Not luck. Never luck. The groundskeeper checked every blade of grass before he left. The crowd never noticed. That was always the goal. Quietly massive, exploring the hidden systems, quietly shaping modern life.